guys, welcome back to Nyx Reads. Thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up if you love watching book hauls, and feel free to subscribe if you love watching bookish content like I do. So I am sitting here with my afternoon pick-me-up cappuccino. I encourage you to grab a beverage yourself because we're going to talk about some books that I recently got. It's my first book haul this year, and it might be the only one or one of a handful only. If you're already subscribed to my channel, you probably saw that I have a project going on which is called #TBR0. And it simply means that at the beginning of this project, I owned 75 unread books and I want to read all of them until I reach TBR0. I'm documenting my progress with reading vlogs and I have 2 up already, so I'll put those in the description box down below. And long story short, one of the rules that I put up for myself is that if I acquire a new book, I have to read it pretty much right away. It cannot go back on the shelf to collect dust. But I didn't account for Christmas and getting books as gifts. So this is pretty much what this is. There's one single book in here, a very short novella that I got from a used bookstore myself, but I'm gonna read it right away. And all the other books are either from friends, my mom, and my boyfriend. I'm very grateful. Let's start with the one that I bought myself and that I will read right away. It is this novella, To Be Taught Fortunate by Becky Chambers. You've probably heard of this. This is a very well-known, very beloved sci-fi novella. People seem to love this author, so when I saw this in a used bookstore, I picked it up right away, and I knew that I'm going to be able to read this right away because it is so short. So our main character in here is space explorer Ariadne, and we're in the 22nd century, so in the far future. This book is her documenting the wonders and the perils that she comes across during this exploration in hopes of documenting this for people if there are any left on Earth. For Christmas, I got Red Rising by Pierce Brown. This was a gift from my sister's boyfriend to me, and apparently he loved it, so that's why he gifted it to me. And I remember this book being absolutely everywhere in the beginning of BookTube, so I think this is quite old. Is this 10 years old? Maybe. Wow, it came out in 2014. It's been a while. All I know is that this is a dystopian, so let me just quickly read you the one sentence on the back of the book. His wife taken, his people enslaved, driven by longing for justice and the memory of lost love, Darrow will stop at nothing to bring down his enemies, even if he must become one of them to do so. Sounds promising, and because I know that this book has raving reviews, I'm excited to read this. The next 2 books are from my mom. I chose these and she kindly got them for me. I might be over 30 years old, but I'm still a child and I still deserve to get books from my mom. First, we have this very thick thriller. This is Hide and Seek by Soren Sveistrup, and I have been waiting for this book to come out for years. Ever since I read and watched The Chestnut Man by Soren Sveistrup. This is a Danish author. We all know that the Scandinavians, for some reason, are just the very best in thrillers, and it remains that way. He might be one of my favorite authors now, even though I only read 2 books by him because, you know what? I already read this book. Once again, we follow Naja Tulin. She is a detective that works for the Copenhagen police. She technically wants to focus on cyber criminal cases, but she gets pulled into this one case because of reasons. It starts with a woman named Celia Thompson who just vanishes, and the police is looking for her, anticipating the worst, because before her disappearance, she got a series of very strange texts. And very weirdly, a few years prior, there's actually a 19-year-old girl who also vanished, but she was found murdered. They found her body, who received texts in the same vein. Some working for the police think that there's a connection. Some don't want to investigate these 2 cases together because they think they have nothing to do with each other. And that is where the story starts. I'll tell you more in my February wrap up, but this is fantastic. And if for any reason you want to start with Hide and Seek because you find it in a bookstore, then you can just go ahead and read it first. There's no real connection to the first book, to The Chestnut Man, and there's no spoilers. There's just mild hints at them, but if you didn't read the book, you wouldn't know, and there's nothing that gives the first book away. So if you wanted to, you could start with this one. It doesn't really matter. With the caveat that the detectives are the same, so they have a bit of interpersonal drama, so obviously that gets carried over from book 1 to book 2, but again, nothing that you wouldn't be able to follow. Next, I have a very special book. So I laid my eyes on this one in an independent bookstore. So this is Das Meer der Aswan, which translates to The Ocean of Ghosts or Monsters by Allan and Derain. What makes it special is that this is a book by a Filipino author. It was written in Tagalog and then translated to German. I will tell you in the description down below when and if the English translation is available. But when I saw this, I just was so happy, and of course I am happy to support, or my mom supported this author being translated into German. How special is that? The story is about a little girl, Luklak, and one day she transforms into a crocodile. And this sets off the events of her father trying to find her to rescue her. And in doing so, he encounters very strange other beings. So for example, he goes and talks to a monkey in a red pant. This is very special to me. I wouldn't be able to read such a big book in Tagalog, so I'm happy it was translated into German. The last 3 books are from my boyfriend, and if you've been a watcher of this channel, you know that for years now we have this tradition where every January he buys me 3 mystery books and I get to unwrap them. He chose them in an independent bookstore for one reason or the other, and usually they're either books I've never heard of or authors I've never heard of. And it's a great way for me to extend my TBR beyond what I see on BookTube, beyond what I see on the internet. So let's start with the one that I have already read. It's Last Night in Montreal by Emily St. John Mendel. So this author is known for Station 11, and this is her debut novel. I have already reviewed this in my January wrap-up, so I'll link that video down below if you want to hear more details. But in short, this is about Lilia, who was abducted as a little girl by her father, and since then she spent her years growing up on the road with him, basically hiding from the police. When she grows up to have a life on her own, she finds herself living in different cities. One of them is New York. She lives in Brooklyn with her boyfriend Eli. But one day Lilia walks out of the apartment. He thinks that she's just going to a bodega to grab something, but she doesn't come back. So he goes and tries to find her, and everything leads back to Montreal. He takes a train to that city in hopes of finding out what's happened to her and why she went there. We're traveling back and forth in time between Eli looking for her, and also we're learning what happened on the road when Lilia was abducted as a child, and we learn more about her. These are very tormented characters, and unfortunately the city of Montreal is not getting a good rep in this book. I will say that much. If you want to hear my thoughts, you can watch my January wrap-up, but in any case, I'm happy to be picking up Station 11 soon as well. Next, he chose for me A Case of Mice and Murder by Sally Smith. I am so excited by this. Even when I just looked at the cover, I got really excited. I mean, look at the little mouse and the knife. I am a lover of mysteries and thrillers, murder mysteries, cozy mysteries, any kind of mystery I absolutely love. So yes, I'm very much excited about this one. This takes place in the shaded courtyards and ancient buildings of the Inner Temple. It's in capital letters, so that must be an actual place. The hidden heart of London's legal world. I don't know at this point what the Inner Temple is. I'm sure I'm gonna find out, or I'm gonna look it up once I start this book. So interestingly, because the main character is a barrister, I actually checked the author bio, Sally Smith, and it says here that she herself has been a barrister all her life, and later even worked for the King's Council, whatever that means. So this seems to be like an author who writes about what she knows, but with a murder mystery twist. So that I think will make for a very interesting setting, because she will know the ins and outs of the barrister world in London and give us some very interesting insights and a twist to a murder mystery that I haven't read before. It sounds cozy and interesting, and apparently this is going to be a series. Speaking of cozy, this is the last book. It's The Last Apartment in Istanbul by Defne Suman. So this has just one of those premises that I think is gonna lead to a 5-star. This is the tale of a 75-year-old man named Pericles, and he has lived in this apartment his entire life. At this point, he has become somewhat of a recluse until a new neighbor moves in. Her name is Layla. She's a young woman in her 30s, and when he learns that she's a writer, he prompts her to put pen to paper, and he tells her all the tales from his 70+ years in this building. Doesn't that sound like the most found family, cozy, heartwarming type of premise. So that was all the books. I'll make sure in my next TBR0 challenge, I'll mention that I have some new books on my list. So I'll figure out how to weave them into this project. But I'm so excited about all of these, and I'm so thankful that I got these books as presents. Please let me know in the comments down below if any of these books are on your TBR and if you possibly want to buddy read any of these. Definitely let me know if you've read any of these before. And if you don't feel like leaving a comment, why don't you leave me some kind of apartment emoji? Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you also required some really cool books lately that you're excited about. I'll talk to you guys next time. Bye.